A while back, a spoiler was released for Season 4 that some character or characters are going to have secret siblings. In this video, I'm going to be going through a list of characters and deciding whether they would seem like the type that would have a sibling or would not. Firstly, let's start by taking out all the characters that we already know have siblings. Not that this would mean that they're completely discounted, but most likely this spoiler isn't talking about characters who already have a sibling, because that wouldn't really be that exciting, or at least not exciting enough to get the fans hyped with a spoiler, to find out that a character who already has a sibling just has another sibling. So let's start out with Marinette's class and take out all the characters who we already know have siblings. We know that Juleka, Alex, Nino, and Alia do. So right off the bat, that gets us 4 characters out of the way. Of course, this still leaves us with 11 other possibilities, and that's just in Marinette's class. However, most likely they're not going to release a spoiler this big about a lesser known secondary character. So let's go ahead and take out some of the characters that we know are on screen far less than others. Kim, Ivan, Maylin, Nathaniel, and Sabrina could easily fall into this category. Now, this leaves us with 6 characters to go in the class. As intimidating as this might seem, it's actually quite easy to deduce from here. Let's take Chloe for example. Not only have we seen both of her parents and what her life is like at home, it also just makes sense that Chloe would be an only child. It fits her character quite well. Same goes for Max. Although we've only seen his mom and have not seen what his life's like at home, the thought of Max being an only child also fits well with his character. Although I didn't discount Rose earlier because we do see her on screen quite often, I don't think that she is a main enough character for the writers to draw that much attention to her. Now, Adrian for sure is an only child. Not only does it fit his character to a T, but if he wasn't, something just wouldn't feel right. Plus, I don't think the writers would go down that path. However, if Gabriel and Emily did have another child in which Adrian was oblivious to and something happened to it, it would explain why Gabriel is so overly protective of Adrian other than the fact that he's all that's left of Emily. But like I said, Adrian being an only child fits his character and his situation to a T. Now, that leaves only 2 possibilities left out of Marinette's class, Lila and Marinette. Lila is most likely not a possibility, however. Why, you ask? Well, because think about it. Not that Lila couldn't have a sibling, because on one hand, I could see her having a little brother. But if Lila did have a sibling, don't you think he or she would end up getting in the way of her lies? Eventually overhearing or realizing that she's been lying and then go tell their mom? Or perhaps be with her one time when she lies and, as her sibling, expose her. If Lila had a sibling, I feel like that would end up ruining her character. I feel like the sibling would just end up getting in her way and eventually lead to her defeat. And I don't think the writers are quite done with Lila's character just yet. Lila's supposed to be a big part of Season 4, but I don't think in any way that has to do with a sibling. So I'd mark Lila off as a very unlikely character. This leaves only 1 character left, and that's Marinette. Now, you're probably wondering why I choose Marinette as the most likely candidate just because of the fact that she's the main character of the show. Well, I actually have some pretty good evidence to prove that this is the case. However, before we get into that, I do have one other thing I want to mention regarding the characters who could possibly have siblings. I only considered the characters in Marinette's class. However, I didn't mean to discount anyone else who could possibly fit the standards. Take Natalie, for instance. She could be a possible candidate. But I think if there's anyone other than Marinette who could be a possibility, it's Kagami. She's the only one who's a main enough character who we know so little about, especially in comparison to Luca. We know that Luca has a sibling, where he lives, and his family life, for the most part that is. But with Kagami, we've never once seen where she lives, we know little about their family life, and her father hasn't even been referenced once. The theory that I proposed earlier with Gabriel could easily be the case with Kagami's mother. Perhaps she lost her husband and her child somehow, and that's why she's so overprotective of Kagami. Now, although I might have just persuaded you that Kagami is a very likely candidate, you haven't yet heard my reasoning for Marinette. Throughout the whole series thus far, to our characters it has only been one school year. In the Season 3 episode Feast, Alia reassures us of this when she says this line.
So, this statue would be the last known trace of a miraculous... Until Ladybug and Cat Noir showed up a few months ago to fight Hawkmoth. Yeah!
Now, with that being said, Marinette could easily have an older brother or sister away at college. Now, you're probably wondering why we've never seen this character before and what excuses are the writers going to come up with this time. Well, the only time it would have made sense for him or her to have come home during this school year is during the Christmas special. However, that's an easy argument to knock down because the older brother or sister could simply say something like, "My flight was postponed due to a snowstorm, so I couldn't make it home this past Christmas." A very common but realistic excuse of why we've never seen this character before. Not only that, but in the mini-series Miraculous Secrets, Marinette says this very intriguing line.
But who knows? Maybe there's someone else who's exactly like me. After all, I haven't met everyone in my family yet.
Now, I'm not proposing the theory that she's never met her older brother or sister, but it does indicate that there are still other members of Marinette's family that we haven't seen before. Plus, Marinette does seem like the kind of character who would have an older brother, at least in my opinion anyway. But one thing we haven't taken into consideration is the fact that this could be more than one character with secret siblings. Perhaps it's both Marinette and Kagami. But what do you guys think? Do you think Marinette and Kagami are very likely candidates? Or do you have someone else in mind? Let me know in the comments below. This is Crystal Drops signing out till next time. Bug out!